God has blessed me to be around so many beautiful kids that's adults now, and guess what, they're living their best life, and I'm grateful to have just been a little piece of that whole thing. But some things you have to think about is, man, what do you have to cut yourself some slack on when it comes to being a dad? Family, what's up? This is your boy John Bacon with another segment of the Bacon Bits Podcast, where we desire for you to take the bits of information and immediately apply them to your life for success. The ground rules for our podcast is that it'll always be encouraging, uplifting, and informative. The areas of life that we will be talking about today on the Bacon Bits Podcast is dealing with having a balanced life. And I need to hear y'all say it. Say it out loud, please. Say valuable information applied equals success. And fam, I got to send a shout out to my people in Nevada and Japan. We welcome you. We love you. We adore you. We are so grateful and thankful for you guys listening. Please put a little comment, share, like on the podcast site, man, and let us know you listening, man. We know you're listening because that's why we calling you out, man. But we are grateful for you guys listening and continue to be in a big part of the Bacon Bits Podcast. Today's podcast is called Doing That Daddy Thing. Doing That Daddy Thing. We just had Father's Day a couple of weeks back, man, and y'all know that's one of my favorite holidays of all time. Why is that? Because I love being a dad. I love being a daddy. I always love telling y'all, some of y'all have probably heard the story, man. When I was 6 years old, I knew in my heart of hearts I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to be a great dad. And you'd be like, how in the world could a kid be thinking about being a dad? Well, there was so many dynamics, man. It was, my dad not being there for me. I know how that made me feel, and I always said to myself, you know what, I want to be a blessing to be a dad. If I could be a dad to every kid that's out there that doesn't have a father, man, I would love to speak words of encouragement, build you up, be there, be your first cheerleader, be rah-rah-rahing you, and encouraging you to live your best life, and just to be supportive. Sometimes, like I said, it ain't even so much the words. Sometimes it's just showing up and standing there by your side so you can do some of the most awesome things that you could do because you got somebody there that's interlinked with you that you're dependent upon, man. And I love the fact of doing that, man. I literally was just reflecting on some things of being a dad, man. It was the first time I knew that my girlfriend was pregnant. I knew, I started doing things that I knew in my heart. I just knew it was good, and it wasn't even like that I was looking for the information, but I started singing to my baby girl when she was in her mom's stomach. I started saying poetry to my baby girl. I was writing poetry a lot back then. I was a songwriter too, so it made it easy for me to do that. It was just talking to her before she even got here. And man, when she got here, she came out, and it was so hilarious because my girlfriend, she was white, and I'm black, and me and the doctor had a really close relationship. So as I'm holding her hand, helping her do the breathing techniques, he said, "You have a beautiful blue-eyed, blonde-haired baby girl." And I started busting out laughing. I said, "Oh, I know that's not right, because I already asked God." I said, "I only asked God for two things for my daughter to have." I said, "I wanted to have my pretty brown skin, and I wanted to have long eyelashes." And she got pretty brown skin and them beautiful long eyelashes. I was like, I know that my baby girl had. So ain't nothing like when you see that baby come out the womb and she had to have a C-section, and it was like, okay, they didn't tell me that my baby's gonna look like an alien when she come out. They cleaned her up, washed her off, and then they put her in my arms, man. And I was a kid in a candy store, boy. I was so stoked, man. And it was just from day one, I wanted to be there for my baby girl so bad. I mean, man, everything she did, every cry, every first step, I wanted to be a part of every single thing that she did, man. Everything. I wanted to be there. And I wish that people would do that more often, man. It's just be there for your babies, man. Be there. I remember just being there, and I, said my older My older kids, they got the old school tear your butt up, John. And then my younger kids got the let's sit down and talk about it, John. And yes, my older kids were resentful towards my younger ones because they got that milder version of me. And I don't think it was just because I was just older. It was also, you know what, when you know better, do better. I'm real big on that. So I always think about, each kid and the different memories you have of your kids, man. I can go through all 15 kids, and there was something special about each one of what they did, man. And it was phenomenal. But as men, guys, we don't talk about being a dad enough. We do not. We don't talk about the first day of being a dad and the actual, coming home process. And man, I treated her like she was just so fragile, putting her in the car seat and putting the car seat in the car, driving, and every so many, I would say blocks, I'm looking back to make sure she all right. She ain't crying. I'm like, okay, she all right? She alive? She all right? So I'm, stressing. It was just everything. I mean, every feeling you could possibly feel, brothers, go ahead and feel it, man. Cry because you're so excited. It's so joyous. Because it's life changing. And this is for those dads. Guess what? You want to be in your kid's life. Now, I wasn't the perfect dad. I can honestly tell you that. I wasn't in my kids' life all the time. My kids were with their moms. But every moment I got a chance to be with my kids, man, I was with my babies, man. Every moment. So with all of my babies, the part that I got right was within the first 9 months of them being raised, they moms might have got up maybe a week in 9 months. I wanted to make sure I got up every night with my babies to see them where they was at. They was crying. I changed them diapers. I would feed them. I love that intimacy I had with my kids when they were young. I love it. I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world, man. I think about my baby girl, Naomi, that just graduated from high school. I think about her, man, when she was like 8, 9 months old and she could walk, and her 3-year-old brother at the time, Joshua, and 5-year-old brother, Jonathan, they would be talking to me, talking about whatever and anything. And she would just bust up into our conversation. She would climb up in my lap and she would, sit on my lap and hold me. And she wanted to prove to her brothers, who the closest with Dad? It's me. Okay. She wanted to let everybody know. And that girl, if she could, the only way I can get closer to my daughter, if I could swallow her. That's how close my baby wanted to be up under me, man. And those times I still treasure to this day. I could tell you about all the fears I had of, man, because my dad wasn't there for me. I don't have an example of what it is to be a dad, so what I'm going to do when they arrive. And, they don't actually send you home with this instruction booklet on how to raise your babies. So it was always that intuition of, man, what's going to happen, how I'm going to do this, who's my role model. And back then, we didn't talk about all that stuff as much as we should. We should have back then, and we still don't talk about it enough to me now about, all your cares, your worries, your fears, your nightmares of what could possibly happen. And man, everything you could do right, I thought I did pretty good on that. And all the things I could have done wrong, I did that. Be talking about me trying to cook breakfast in the morning, and I got my son in a bouncy seat on top of the counter, and he fell off the counter in the bouncy seat. And I'm like, Lord Jesus, rushed him to the hospital, and everything was all right. They literally came into the hospital emergency, said something was wrong with my baby. We got in front of everybody at the hospital, and they let us in there, checked him out, and he was all right, and was super grateful for that. And I was like, Lord have mercy. So family, when I say the mistakes you could make, I probably made them. And some of the blessings you could have done, I probably done those too. So that's why I love sharing this episode of, everything that comes with fatherhood. What surprised me most about my kids, man, is that I'm a big advocate of this. If you watch your kids, they will teach you how to raise them. I'm a firm believer in that. So y'all know I love the word of God. And the word of God says, train up a child in the way they should go. Not the way you want them to go. Train up a child in the way they should go. So part of me training up the way they should go, yeah, obviously I wanted to teach every one of my kids about Jesus Christ. I'm a firm believer in that. If something is, very helpful for you, pass that on to your baby. So that's the first thing I wanted to do. But it wasn't just teaching my kids about Christ. I wanted them to feel how it is to be loved like Christ would love. So definitely want to demonstrate that to them. But it was knowing that what surprised me the most, man, is that if I paid attention to my kids, they showed me which direction more than likely to take them. And that's crazy, because that's going to be totally different than a lot of stuff that you hear on these different podcasts and different websites or whatever. But man, if we really study our babies, they will show you how they've been gifted and called by God. They will show you that. They will show you that, man. And each one had that, man. For me, I knew my daughter was going to be like, she almost be like a therapist, my oldest daughter. She loves listening to people and helping them in their issues. And she'll tell you the truth, bluntly. Knowing my son, Nate was one of those kids that, man, you can just let him be. That boy, he pretty much almost, I felt like, raised himself, and we just were along for the ride, to guide him, in different things here and there. Brittany, she always was a mothering type. So for her to have our granddaughter Brielle and to be the mother that she is, man, that is a blessing. My son John, when he was young, I just knew that boy was going to do something phenomenal with people. And he is getting in that direction and constantly growing and developing to be the man of God he called to be. And he's definitely a teacher. There's no question in my mind. And he is the spitting image of me when it comes to this voice thing. His greatest gift is his mouth. And the thing that gets him in the most trouble was his mouth. And I told him that from when he was a kid, and he has that ingrained in him. Like, if I just watch my words, man, I can go so far. And he has done some tremendous things already in life, and he has so much to do with his beautiful wife Jade and my beautiful grandson Isaiah Alexander Michael Bacon, better known as I Am Bacon, which I love that name. Son didn't even know he was doing that when he did it. And we got my son Joshua. That boy is in his second year of Arizona State University and doing his thing. And I used to love starting things, and he would finish me. I would pull my laptop out, he would plug in the cord. I would pull the vacuum out, he would pull the cord out to go plug it in. I would pull the iron out, he would pull the cord. He always would love finishing what I started, and I love watching him now with his desire to grow closer to Jesus and getting into that word and just studying and just really craving that. And I love that. Then my baby girl, Naomi, that one that got me wrapped around her fingers and toes. Oh my goodness, man. What a daughter. Okay. Can't ask for more. Graduated high school a year early. Going to Northern Arizona University, going into psychiatry and just wanted to learn. I said, I just pray she don't study me too hard. That's my prayer. That's my prayer. And I still got Cecile and Clemence. I still got Abraham and Odie, David. Still got Nishi, Frankie, all my other babies too. So man, I can just go on and on. We got Nico, we got Tatiana. God has blessed me to be around so many beautiful kids that's adults now, and guess what, they're living their best life, and I'm grateful to have just been a little piece of that whole thing. But some things you have to think about is, man, what do you have to cut yourself some slack on when it comes to being a dad? Because we will be hard on ourselves. Sometimes we're way too hard. What's frustrating in your life as being a dad? Because those teen years is, guess what? That's when they starting to feel themselves. Guess what? They're growing up to be adults. So they pass being a kid, but they ain't no adult. So they right in that sweet spot, and they trying to figure themselves out. So there's going to be a lot of ebb and flow of trying to be the best dad you can be during those seasons. Because you know what our desire is to do? I want my sons to be men. No question in my mind. I wanted my daughters to be women. There's no question in my mind. But a lot of that had to do with the ebb and flow of who they were and discovering themselves and what God made them. And for me to see that, guess what, come down a little bit when I needed to come down. But also, guess what, to be lenient in those times when they trying to figure this out. They make mistakes. Guess what, they already beating themselves up. Guess what, give them that grace and mercy that God gives you. And let's keep it moving, man. And we got to be specific. We ain't just saying, how hard it was. It was saying, knowing that, man, my anger issues, my daughter had those, knowing that, there's a lot of things I didn't know as a man that I wanted to make sure I teach my sons that, I swear I felt insecure. I felt nervous. I felt envy sometimes because I love seeing my sons be better than me. And that's one of the things I pray that every parent would desire. I want my kids to be better than me in every single area of life. I want them to be closer to Jesus. I wanted them to go on and do better things with, mentally, not necessarily always got to be college, because I don't believe college is for everybody, but for them to pursue what they're gifted by God to do. I want them to be physically more healthy than me, but they got to go do some things to do that, because I take care of this temple God bless me with. For them to have great relationships, to know, guess what, we're supposed to treat everybody with love and respect, but also knowing that everybody ain't for you. So to be knowledgeable of that. And, obviously I want my kids to, guess what, I want them to have more than me, materially. I do. I want them to be blessed financially. I want them to make great financial decisions. So as a dad, guess what, there's so many areas that we could talk about. But it's knowing that, as a dad, what do you learn? What did you learn as you're still trying to figure it out? Because some dads, and guess what, you still being a dad right now. We're trying to figure it out. What do I learn as I'm being a father? Like I said, the kids is going to be kids. And what am I supposed to learn in the process of being their dad? How are we growing as a dad? Remember I told you I went from being that super strict, tear your butt up dad, and I ain't going to apologize for me whooping your butt, to, man, I want to sit down and talk to my kids and see why did they do what they did? What was their thought process in that? So it was a lot of growing in the process of being a father. And what would I say to another dad that's going through? Man, enjoy the ride. Please enjoy the ride. For every moment you can be there, man. I know you got to hustle. I know you got to provide and do what you got to do for your family, man. And I know you got to prayerfully, some of my men on here got great marriages. You want to make sure you keeping that wife first to demonstrate to your kids the order of things. But, man, also knowing, man, enjoy the ride, man. You're going to make some mistakes. The kids is going to make some mistakes. Cut yourself some slack. And know, guess what? I need you to, with your kids, man, do me a favor. Be real with them. Be real with your kids. Tell them the things that you did right, and tell them the things you did wrong. And part of that is being vulnerable with your kids, man. Being vulnerable to let them know, you know what? I went through a season of that. I thought like that. I did those things. And in these areas that I did right, let me tell you what I did right. And in the areas that I did wrong, let me tell you what I did wrong. And if you can stay relatable with your kids, man, then let them know that, guess what? We don't go through stuff in life alone. You can be up in there. You should be, telling the stories of how you did, when I was, telling my daughters, the lines I was throwing on women. I would tell them that when I was going out getting high and getting drunk, it was a sin then, and it'll be a sin now if they did it. It's telling them everything you went through, your growth. It didn't happen overnight. It was experience by experience. It was lesson by lesson. And I'm still big on this. I would rather for you to learn from me than have to go through it yourself. That's just me. I mean, God intended it that way. He tells us what to do so we don't have to experience the unnecessary foolishness that happens. Because one of my brothers, so I always remember what he said about the word sin. What is sin? Ladies and gentlemen, I know we trip out in this day and time to hear that word sin. But sin is self-inflicted nonsense. Self-inflicted nonsense. We cause our own selves a lot of heartaches and pains, trials and tribulations that we do not have to experience if we would just pay attention to what God is trying to tell us and be obedient to that. Literally. A lot of, I could tell you 95% of the foolishness I went through is because of my hard-headedness and to teach my babies. When somebody is trying to teach you something so you don't have to go through what they went through, please do me a favor and listen. Please do me a favor and listen. Because, man, it's so important for us to learn what we need to learn so we can get to the next level of what God is trying to teach us, what he's trying to teach us. So, please, y'all, if this was a good episode for any of you, please do me a favor. Share this episode with somebody of what it is being a dad to grow, to really get some insight into what's the best thing I could do in being a dad. And I'm gonna leave you with this, brothers, because it's always my favorite thing. If I had to narrow it down, I can only give you one piece of advice out of all the pieces of advice I've ever learned. This is the best piece of advice I can ever give you. Every time you with your kids, because like I said, I wasn't always with my kids. I wasn't in the house living with my kids until unless they were my babies. When they was my babies, we stayed together. But unfortunately, Their mothers took them, and I can say unfortunate. It was a blessing. The mothers took them and nurtured them the way they need to be nurtured. But I was able to be there as much as I possibly could. And if I could tell you anything, brothers, please do me a favor. Give your kids a hug. Give your kids a kiss. Your boys too. Yes, son. Just men. Give your sons a kiss. Tell them you love them. Because we all want to hear that we are loved. Tell them that you're proud of them, and they ain't got to do nothing to earn it. You proud of them just because they yours. They got your DNA, and that you're mine. You claim them. Still to this day, one of the number one things people love having in their lives is for people to claim them. That's my boo. That's my man. That's my son. That's my daughter. That's my dad right there. That's my mom. We love being claimed. So brothers, do me a favor. Hug, kiss. I love you. I'm proud of you, and you mine. Brothers, if we want to get our country back and this world back to where it needs to be at, we need to step up and be the best men we can possibly be as husbands and also as dads. This is your boy John Bacon with another segment of Bacon Bits. I love you guys. God bless. What up, fam? Do you need some extra tools that's going to help your life be the best that it can possibly be? Are you constantly juggling work, family, and personal time, only to feel drained and unfulfilled? That's where the book that I wrote called The Balanced Life can be your guide to reclaiming your time, energy, and happiness with practical strategies for setting boundaries, prioritizing self-care, and achieving real balance. This book helps you create a life that you love without the burnout. Get ready to break free from the chaos and step into a life of purpose and peace. Grab your copy of The Balanced Life because you deserve a life that works for you. Also, we have The Unraveling. It's a journal to help you write, reflect, and heal. Your thoughts matter. Your feelings deserve space. The Unraveling Journal is more than just a notebook. It's your personal guide to self-reflection, healing, and growth. With guided prompts, mindfulness exercises, and room to express yourself freely. This journal helps you untangle emotions, process life's challenges, and rediscover clarity. Take a moment for you. Write, reflect, and heal, one page at a time. And fam, also another book written by my wife is Healthy Relationships. Because fam, you know this. Great relationships don't just happen. They're built. Whether it's with your partner, kids, friends, or co-workers, strong connections are the foundation of a happy life. In healthy relationships, you'll learn how to communicate better, set healthy boundaries, and nurture trust in every relationship that matters to you. Because when your connections thrive, you thrive. Start building stronger, healthier relationships today. Order your copy at kingdomservantsfirst.com. Once again, that's kingdomservants1st.com. Fam, we want you to be the best version of yourself. Get one of these books today. God bless.